Hello. Ever wondered how the power of simple associations can make learning easier? Ivan Pavlov, the famous psychologist, showed us just how strong connections and associations can be. Today we are diving into Pavlov's behaviorism theory, the same as B.F. Skinner here. Please go and watch the video. This theory shows us not only how it can help you as an adult learn a new language, but also how teachers can use it to teach kids more effectively. Let's explore how classical conditioning, we call it classical conditioning, can work for both learners and teachers alike. But first, who is Ivan Pavlov? Please welcome the legend Ivan Pavlov! Pavlov was a Russian psychologist who discovered classical conditioning. What is classical conditioning? Basically, the process of learning through associations. His famous experiment with dogs revealed how neutral stimulus, like the sound of the bell, could become associated with food, causing the dog to salivate just by hearing the bell. Pavlov's work didn't just change the psychology, it can change the way we learn, especially when it comes to language. So how Pavlov's theory works? Pavlov's theory, called classical conditioning, is based on the idea that we can learn to associate two things. In his experiment, the sound of a bell was initially neutral. It didn't mean anything to the dog at the first time. But by ringing the bell, every time they were fed the dogs eventually learned to salivate at the sound of the bell alone. Why? Because they associated the bell with the food. This association created a learned behavior that triggered an automatic response. How can this help you learn a language? Now let's apply this idea to language learning. Whether you are an adult learning a new language or a teacher working with children, Pavlov's principles can help create strong, lasting connections when learning. Here is how. Number one, repetition builds associations. Just like Pavlov's dogs, your brain starts to make strong associations through repetition. When you hear a new word repeatedly in context, your brain links it to its meaning. For adults, this could mean listening to a language podcast or having daily conversations or listening to music. The more often you hear and use a word or phrase, the more automatic your response becomes. Number two, use triggers to start speaking. In Pavlov's experiment, the bell was the trigger. You can do the same when learning a language. Create triggers. And these triggers should prompt you to speak or practice, like a specific word, phrase, or even an image on a flashcard. By consistently connecting the word to the trigger, you make it easier for your brain to retrieve and use the language when needed. Number three, reward yourself for progress. I like it. I like to reward myself. Pavlov's dogs salivated because they expected food after hearing the bell. Likewise, positive reinforcement works wonders for language learners. I personally do it always in my classes. When you practice a new word or phrase and get it right, reward yourself. Whatever it is the reward, it's like small treat, a compliment to yourself, or a break, celebrating small wins reinforces your learning and keeps you motivated. Number 4, consistent routines and associations. Pavlov's dogs learned because the bill was consistently associated with food. As a language learner, setting up a consistent routine helps a lot. Whether it's practicing language for 10 minutes a day, using a language app every morning, or having regular conversations with a friend. So consistency helps your brain form stronger language connections over time. Number 5, emotional connection to language. Pavlov's dogs were emotionally invested in the bill because they knew it meant food. Similarly, when you emotionally connect with the language, whether through culture, stories, or conversations, you will make stronger connections. Engaging with the language emotionally makes learning feel more natural and meaningful. Now let's talk about how this theory can help teachers teach children. Pavlov's ideas don't just apply to adults, they are incredibly useful for young learners too. Here's how teachers can apply classical conditioning to help kids pick up a new language. Number 1, create positive association with learning. Teachers can use Pavlov's theory to create positive associations with language learning by rewarding kids with praise or small incentives when they use new words correctly. Teachers help children form positive connections to language. This makes them more likely to engage and learn without feeling stressed or frustrated. Number 2, use consistent routines and triggers. Just like Pavlov's dogs learned from a consistent bill, children can learn through repetition and consistency. Teachers can introduce a word or phrase in different contexts or repeatedly during songs, games, or daily routines. Over time, kids will start to automatically associate the word with the action
or object.
So making it easier for them to remember and use it. Number 3, repetition and engagement. For kids, repetition is key. Just like Pavlov's dogs salivated at the bell. Children can respond positively to repeated exposure to language. So teachers can use games, songs, or daily conversations to help kids hear and use new words regularly and consistently. Number 4, build emotional connections. To help kids internalize a new language, teachers can connect the language to emotions. Whether it's through fun activities, stories, or cultural experiences, making language learning enjoyable and emotionally engaging helps children bond with the language. So this emotional connection makes learning feel less like a chore and more like an exciting journey. Number 5, scaffold learning for kids. In Pavlov's experiment, the Bill's association with food was built over time. So similarly here, teachers can scaffold language learning by starting with simple, easy to understand, and gradually increasing the complexity as the child becomes more confident. So just like Pavlov's dogs learned the bill meant food. So children will learn through gradual exposure, repetition, and consistent reinforcement. So how can you use Pavlov's theory in your own language learning or in teaching kids? For learners, think about the triggers, routines, and rewards you can set up to help you engage with the language. For teachers, consider how you can use positive associations, repetition, and emotional connections to make language learning fun and effective for your students. Drop a comment below and share how you have used or plan to use Pavlov's theory in your language journey. So to sum it up, Pavlov's behaviorism theory shows us that language learning, whether for adults or kids, is all about creating meaningful associations through repetition, reward, and emotional engagement. So by applying these principles, you can make language learning more natural, fun, and effective. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. As you know, I have a target to reach 1,000 subscribers by this month. So please, if you like this lesson or episode, hit the subscribe button and help me reach my goal. Remember, the more you help people reach their success or their goals, the more you reach your success and achieve your goals. Thank you so much. See you next time.